Voiceover Coffee Shop, Episode 14.
Welcome to the Voiceover Coffee Shop, where we share our morning with some of the finest names in voiceover. And now, here's your host, voice actor Andrew Morrison.
Hi there, my name is Andrew Morrison, and welcome to the Voiceover Coffee Shop, where we start our day with some of the finest names in voiceover. If you'd like to know more about me, feel free to visit my personal website at www.voicebard.com. In this episode, we have coffee with my dear friend, Mercedes Lewis. Mercedes is one of the hardest working voiceover talents that I've ever had the pleasure of knowing, with both an impressive and youthful vocal range. In this episode, we talk about developing characters in animation and video games, marketing through social media, keeping up with current market trends, and staying encouraged.
Hey, Andrew, you are so nice. Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
So how do you take your coffee?
Oh, my goodness. So I am far from liking it black. I am the kind of girl that likes my coffee with lots of cream and sugar, specifically French vanilla creamer with lots of sugar. I know it's terrible. It's like farfy.
Especially first thing in the morning with the vocal cords. But,
yeah, I try to avoid it if I can, if I have like an immediate session, but sometimes I just have to have that coffee.
So how did you get started in voiceover?
It kind of fell into my lap. It was never one of those things where I dreamed about it early on, which is the most unexpected thing with me because I've been known to be a dreamer. And so it fell into my lap. I was watching an E3 event for video games, and that's a lot of like where my passion is in video games. And one of my games that they were remaking was coming out, Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Mm-hmm.
And I was obsessed, and I was just like, well, you know what? I would really love to be a part of a project like that. And since they have multiple parts, maybe I can do this. And so I reached out to one of my celebrity voice actor friends and asked him how to get started. I was one of those people. I was like, how do I get started? And I'm like, I'm sure you get 100 times a day. How to get started? And he told me a few resources. One of them, I want to be a voiceactor.com to do research, things like that, just to get my foot in the door. Within the first 2 weeks, this is insane. I don't highly recommend it, but I was just like, when I made the decision to dive in, I recorded a paid gig on my cell phone. And the moment that happened, within 2 weeks of starting, I immediately upgraded to a microphone, had a full setup, and just went from there and haven't stopped. It's been incredible.
Okay, so you do a lot of animation and video game work. What have been like some of the funnest projects that you've had to work on?
So the most fun I've had was actually just recent. Can't go into too much detail, but all I can say is that I had the NDA, but it was for a video game, and the roles that they had me play were so awesome, so hardcore, which is total opposite of what I normally do. I do normally goofy, funny, comedic, have a good time. This was like more serious, which it was a challenge that I really wanted to do, and it was so much fun. Oh my goodness. But yeah, I do a lot of animation, video games, tons of narration. I've done lots of narration, especially started out with 2 audiobooks, then went from there narrating like 6 to 7 page scripts almost every single day for a while. And then was like, I want to get back into the video game animation scene. So I kind of just was like, okay, I'm going to lesson on that and start focusing more back on video game animation.
So that's where you've been kind of directing your marketing, is towards the back towards video game and animation.
Yes, definitely. That is my passion, my dream, my love. Everything is there. I just love character work so much. There's nothing like it to me.
You and me both. So what is your character development process like when you get a copy and you're like, oh no, this is something that kind of resonates with me? How do you dive in and develop that character?
So when I'm analyzing a script for the first time, whether it's for an audition or an actual work from a referral, the first thing that I do is I look at their description, of course. What is it that they're saying about the character that they're wanting to see? And then I add my spin to it, because ultimately, yes, we want to make it the way that the director is asking for it, but sometimes they don't know what they want and we want to add a little spin to it. Our personality is coming through with that voice and breathing life into that character. So I look at everything that's described, I look at the words, and then I ultimately make a decision based on all of that information. How am I going to go about bringing this character to life, but also adding my take to it?
Okay. So when you're marketing towards that, is it through auditions or is it through directly marketing to the casting director, or who are you marketing to?
As far as the character development or just finding the work?
When you're finding the work.
So it's a little bit of everything. So I am very frequent on Facebook groups for voice acting, and sometimes there are casting directors on there that are seeing me participate with everybody else. And I make a bunch of friends with a bunch of everybody. I try to talk to as many people as I can, because the biggest thing is building relationships in this industry is huge. And I couldn't have gotten where I am in such a short time if it wasn't for the people that are in the industry that I felt like at times held my hand when it got rough. So I built relationships with fellow voice actors and directors, and especially on Facebook with those groups. But I also started getting a little bit more involved with Twitter, which was a new beast for me. I was not used to Twitter at first, but because of the way I interact with people, because I don't make it about me. I make it about the people that I'm talking to. So if somebody is, needing assistance with something that I feel that I can help them with without misleading them because of, I've only been doing this for about 15 months, 16 months now. And so I know what I know, and I know what I don't know. And so I will help people with my strengths. And if it's in marketing, I will go in there and just be like, okay, what do you need help with? What can I help you with? Is it how to speak to people? Is it what to say, what to avoid, things like that? I stopped making it about myself and I help people. And from those relationships alone, I've had the most amazing referrals that I can't even begin to. I've had people that are like, listen, I have a developer that is looking for someone and I want to drop your name in. Can you email them? And I will immediately email them. I don't wait. I just jump on the opportunities when they come. And if somebody's like, I referred you to so-and-so, I follow up with that so-and-so. Hey, so-and-so referred me to you. It's an honor, or something. And I just, I'm constantly following up. I don't wait, because people, it's time is important for everyone. Why make them wait? Jump on it, And so I am a little bit of everything. I look for casting calls wherever I can. I speak to people, and if they have, if they're in a project that they need help with, sometimes I get referred to them, and that's when it's just really cool, is when you get those referrals that are unexpected and they're like, hey, I spoke to my director. They want to hear your demo. They want to speak with you. Can you audition? And normally what they do is they have me go through the audition process like anyone else. And then they make a decision based on that. And I've gotten some really awesome gigs just from referrals. So I do a little bit of everything that I can. And then on top of all of that, I'm continually trying to train on what's current in the industry, because when you're training on what's current, you're more prone to make better decisions as far as where your marketing goes and what you need to spend your time on and what not to spend time on.
Okay. So when you are approaching those casting directors and you're like, hey, I was referred, or I've seen some of your productions and I'm honored to have the opportunity to collaborate with you creatively. How do you instill value on the service that you offer? Because I mean, this is it is a monetary industry. So
it is.
How do you portray that value through like an email?
So I am full of excitement in emails, but I also don't want to give them a long, drawn out message, because they don't have time to read all of that. Right. So short, sweet, excited to be a part of this project. I'd love to audition for the roles that you're looking for. I always mention who referred me, that I was excited to hear about the project. I always show that I'm like excitement. And what I also do is I always refer them to my website, so that they're able to look deeper into how I operate, how I market myself, what my brand is. And sometimes that works. Sometimes they're like, oh, okay, can you audition for this? And they may not even look at it. But I always say, if you would like to view this, that, and the other, here's my website information for you to refer back to. And that always helps, because what they're able to see on my website is how I brand myself, what work I do. They also can visit my social medias through my website, because I have all of my information in my email signature ready to go, so that if they don't want to click on what I give them, they have access to it in my email signature, where they can investigate me a little bit further based on my personality, how I present myself on social media. And, because I'm always trying to have a positive attitude and make it about the projects and not myself. So if somebody shares a project that I'm in, I share everything that they share. I promote it for them. They don't ask me to. I just do it because I care about the projects that I'm in, and I care about everybody involved. And so I feel like that adds value in itself, because I try to take myself out of the equation as much as possible and make it about everybody else instead of me, 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 me. And when I do, if I have to promote me, I get awkward, because I'm like, I don't want to do this part. I don't want to make it about me. Right. But sometimes you have to. Sometimes you have to say, listen, this is what I've done, as far as, like, let's say you have a new fresh demo. I just had one come out that I'm super, super excited about, that I was like, here we go. We're going to have to market this. Here's all the stories. Here's all the tweets. Here's everything. Hey, world. Hello. I made a bunch of noise. Now I'm going to be quiet and make about everybody else again. So that's how I operate anyways. I think that there's a nice balance to it, at least when I do it. So I try to make it mostly about other people. I love making other people feel good. And I always like to encourage other people, because I needed encouragement when I first started, because it was very overwhelming. It's not easy when you first get into the industry, and it still isn't easy. It's like you said, it's very tough. And there's so many people that are competing with other people, but I like to lift people up. And because when you lift other people up, everybody's succeeding in some way. So I think there's a lot of positive aspects to that I feel that I bring to the floor as far as when it comes to voice acting.
So you started Lewis Lifestyle Management.
And I absolutely love helping other people. And it could be anything from phone calls, because that's another thing I'm really good at, is de-escalating situations when it comes to really intense, really upset customers, because I'm just like, I am so sorry. How can I make this better for you? And people are like, what? Okay. I'll calm down just a little bit because you asked me what you could do for me. Okay. And instead of me getting upset with them, because sometimes it gets a little crazy, and you'll be like, listen, I'm so sorry that you're very upset. I unfortunately cannot help you when you're, speaking in this manner, but if you want me to call you back when you're feeling better, I can. Because sometimes people will curse you out and you're like, okay, how do I handle that without making them more upset? You just be like, well, unfortunately, I'll have to call you back at a different time, if that's okay. And most of the time they'll calm down. They'll be like, oh, no, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say those things, but this is why I'm frustrated. And I'll empathize with them, because sometimes you're just like, wow, if I was in their shoes, how would I react? So, and that's what I would do. I would make phone calls. I would make sales for the small business owners if they're wanting me to sell something for them. I do lots of data entry. And ultimately, all those skill sets followed me into voice acting. When I made that decision, I was like, well, I already do this already. I already run a business on my own. I don't necessarily market it the way I do with voice acting, because it's more of a referral based system locally, where I work with people word of mouth, versus me having to be like, hey, internet, this is what I do. I'm going to get as many people under, my belt as possible. I don't do that. I work with people that have a good reputation, that I have to make sure that I'm going to work well with them before I make the decision that I'm going to work with them. Because if we don't work well together, I don't want to make it harder for that business owner if we don't have the same systems in place and we don't work well together. So we go through like a word of mouth. It's kind of like a small interview in a sense. And then ultimately, if it's a good fit, we work together. And if it's not a good fit, we don't. And it's no hard feelings. It's just that sometimes you can't, if you're not helping the person because they don't have the same systems as you do, and you're making it harder for them, then I just refer them to somebody else. So, and most of the time, there's not really a whole lot of people that do what I do as far as the personal assistant business. They're just kind of like, hey, I'll just pick up some hours here and there. Whereas me, it's like, yeah, this is my business. I can help you. What do you need help with? Things like that. And then I took a lot of that aspect and the charisma part, speaking to people, that followed me into voice acting. As you could see, I could talk a lot. So I was like, okay, I'll take that into voice acting. And it just followed me into here. And it's really been super beneficial. It has helped me launch my business with voice acting in a way that I am just so grateful. I'm so grateful.
So along your path, your pilgrimage, if you will, of the past year, what do you think that some of your biggest resources in landing as many gigs as you have in such a short period of time and creating the impact that you have and just your enjoyment in building this, what are some resources that have kind of carried you along the way that you feel have made the biggest impact towards you?
People.
What
you're doing right now is what helped me, because I had the right people in my corner that I spoke to, that mentored me and gave me more resources on top of experiences. The experiences of other people really helped me make better decisions and learn from certain decisions that they made, that they were like, don't make this. And they're like, you're going to make mistakes along the way, and that's okay. But if you can prevent them, this is how you can prevent them. And so I learned a lot from experiences, from other people, talking to other people, learning. I observe like crazy. I'm like one of those, I don't want to even say creeper, because I'm not really a creeper. I'm one of those silent people that just watches everything in the background when it comes to different sources, as in like Facebook groups. If people are having conversations, I'm going to watch what the pros say. I'm going to analyze it. And then what I do is I do my own research on the side, whether it's watching videos, going on websites. Like the beginner one was iwannabeavoiceactor.com. That was the initial first step that I took. Yeah, that's pretty much was like, okay, well, I need to figure out this is what I want to do. And then the narrator's roadmap, because I was narrating so much, that was another site that I was analyzing. And then I was starting to understand rates, teach myself about the global voice acting rates that they had. And I just pretty much, but the experiences and talking to people and really just learning from them, word of mouth, the trainings that I've taken, word of mouth, things like that really helped me along the way. And because there were people that didn't need to help me, that they went out of their way to make sure that I didn't fall on my face, even though there were times where I felt like I did, but they were like, no, it's okay. Like you're experiencing the journey. This is what everybody feels. This is all a part of the experience. And so I had a lot of amazing people in my corner that took the time out of their day to explain to me, what I could do to better myself, how I can get out there. And then with that information, I just went for it. I just started promoting like crazy and talking to everybody and trying to be very encouraging. The encouragement part is so important with a lot of people in this industry, because a lot of us get discouraged. A lot of us are used to not getting, auditions where some of us don't get rejection emails. Luckily, I haven't had a whole lot of those, but the fact of the matter is you don't get the job, and then you hear it and you're like, okay, time to move on. But it's still like, you still feel a little bit of, why am I feeling this way? And people get discouraged very, very, very easily in this industry. And so what I do is I try to encourage them and say, listen, don't give up. So, and I try to be everybody's light, because we need more light in this, during these times, especially. You need more encouragement. You need to love on each other and be there for each other more than ever. And I have a huge support system of voice actors that are in my corner, that have been there for me since the very beginning. And I am just so truly honored to have those people with me along the way. So don't be afraid to talk to people, build those relationships, go to people for advice, for their experiences, learn from them, do your own research. That's like the biggest thing. And then ultimately you make the decision where you want your business to go. So I hope that helps.
So you have a lot of podcasts on your resume as well. How did you get into the podcasting realm? Because I'm really curious about that.
Oh wow, it was, I'm telling you, people think I'm crazy when I say this, but those Facebook groups, when I first started, it's a little bit different now because I noticed that they're leaning more towards training, and that's great. But there was a casting call for a podcast on there. And this was right after I had landed my first paid gig within the 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. I saw a podcast casting call on one of the groups. I applied, and then I started doing fake ads, and then I started getting interviews. And then ultimately that kind of piqued the interest of another person that was like, listen, I see that you've been doing this. Can you do this? And so I started doing a little bit more character work and doing the fake, we call them fake ads, but they're just like little funny skits of entertainment in between the show, just to get people like laughing, because they're ridiculous. I mean, some of these ads, I'm like, what is going on? And it's so much fun to do because it was character work. And then afterwards, I built a relationship with the directors, and I got exclusive interviews about, tell us more about what you do, why you do it, things like that. And they asked me questions about me. And so I just got involved with the podcast there, and then it took off, and it's been awesome. So the podcast was actually my second gig ever. And it has a special place in my heart because I haven't been doing too many lately. I've been doing a lot of different stuff. So I love podcasts. That was the first stepping stone for me into the industry. And then I just took off from there.
Awesome. So if you were to write a letter to yourself, to pre-voice actor Mercedes, from your viewpoint now, what would that letter say?
You don't feel loved or accomplished right now, but there are great things waiting ahead that you don't even know are ahead of you. So keep holding on to hope. Keep knowing how awesome you are, because you are, even when you don't feel like it. Things are gonna be awesome. So just be patient, be kind, hold on to hope. That's what I would tell myself pre-voice acting, because voice acting was initially a game changer in my entire life. It changed my whole life. And it's been the best thing that's ever happened to me. You could ask my husband. He's just like, I've never seen you so passionate about anything in your life like this. Like, you've been passionate about stuff, but not like this. And he's right. I haven't really thought of a time where I'm just like, this is what I want to do. This is the life that I never even knew I could have. This is just so awesome. It's a lot of work, but it's the kind of work that I would do forever. So, and I would tell myself, listen, you may not feel like it right now, but it's there. It's going to happen. Just be patient. Your time will come.
Well, thank you so much, Mercedes. This has been awesome.
Thank you, Andrew. Oh, I just feel so encouraged and enlightened.
I really hope you enjoyed Mercedes talk about how the kind energy that she gives to the voiceover industry comes back to her in such a wonderful way, and her process for using that kindness to build her career as a voice talent. If you'd like to know more about her, you can visit her at mercedeslewisvo.com. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to the Voiceover Coffee Shop. For more information on guests, new episodes, and more, be sure to visit www.vocoffeeshop.com.